Okay, looking at, oh, my apologies. Number 15. In gym class, Alexander and Brian are playing catch with a small rubber ball. Is that a circle or is it three-dimensional, like a sphere? Absolutely. So we notice something about the dimensions that they've given us. This is the entire length across, isn't it? Okay? So when you're given something, so they gave us, could we say that it goes directly in half? Okay? And we know that the entire distance across a circle is actually the diameter. Okay? All right. So using 3 and 1400ths for pi, which is the best approximation for the volume of the rubber ball? Okay. So one thing that you want to know, or what I would utilize, is my reference sheet. Okay. What on here can help me find the volume of a sphere? And I notice that I have the formula, which is the volume is equal to 4, and yes, you do need to write the whole problem over. And here's why. Your calculator, too many of you are like, you can barely see that dot or notice that you made a mistake when you enter it into the Inspire. Okay? And I cannot emphasize enough, folks, you are given 4 hours to take this test. Your booklet needs to look like you worked, like smoke was coming out of your head, that your hands are tired, and this whole workspace has been exhausted, highlighting, underlining, circling. And so if I'm given this formula, okay, do I need to use NSolve, even though I have an equation, okay, with a variable, when the variable is isolated? Okay, you do not need to use NSolve. And also I have two variables. I have a radius because I haven't substituted yet. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, let's find out let's always rewrite the problem when you're substituting. Have I been given the volume? No. That is what I'm looking for. So 4/3 pi. And actually, if you notice, they wanted us to use 3.14 or 3 and 14/10. So let's go ahead and just write that there. And I'm going to use parentheses to separate when I'm multiplying. Okay? And what is the radius? Okay, ding, 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 ding. You need, is that the diameter or is it the radius? You bet. So we need 4.6 or 4 and 6/10 divided by, oh, my apologies, divided by 2. What am I thinking? Okay, so we're going to enter 4 and 6/10 divided by 2. Because if it's the radius that I need, I do not use the diameter. Okay? And I'm going to cube that. Okay, now I'm down to simply an expression. When I have an expression, which is simple computation of multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction on one side of the equation and one variable on the left, I do not need to use NSolve. I simply don't. The easiest way, you're just doing more work than you need to. When you use NSolve is when you have a variable that is not isolated, that is not by itself on one side of the equation. Okay? So the way I'm going to enter that in my calculator, in my Inspire, and honestly, volume is probably one of the easiest. You recognize the formula, substitute the values, and rewrite the equation, and then put it in your calculator. Okay? The trick here was actually realizing that you needed to utilize the radius. Okay? And they gave you the diameter. I promise you, you will have a question where they give you the diameter and you need the radius to solve the problem. Okay? So when you enter it, just a quick review and remember that a fraction is always put in the calculator. We always used to do top dog in 7th grade, right? The numerator always got the house about, you know what I'm talking about. Well, the top dog always goes in the calculator first. So 4 divided by 3. In other words, the numerator divided by the denominator. I'm going to multiply that times 3 and 1400ths. Okay? And I'm also going to multiply that times 2 and 3/10. Okay? And here's the important part. I'm not squaring it. I am actually going to raise it to the third power. And the way to do that is, if you notice, here is your x squared button, but I'm going to use the little button to the left because I'm not squaring. I'm actually going to raise it to another power. I'm going to press that, okay, and look what happens. It opens up a box to add an exponent, and I'm going to add the number 3. Okay? Always go back, review everything that you've entered. Okay, make sure it's correct. And if you notice, my answer is 50.93. Okay? Can you tell me where my answer would be? Yep, it's a no-brainer. Okay? Now, maybe you're not sure. It'd be interesting to see if I use 4.6, right? What if I used 4 6/10 as my radius, right? And plug it in, maybe I get a different number. Okay? All right, that's pretty straightforward, so we're going to go ahead and stop right there.